It's been 214 days since the last full weekend of NFL football where all 32 teams were in action. Well, that all changes this weekend. The first weekend of the NFL preseason is underway. So much to look forward to. The offseason is finally over. Hello, everyone, and
Thank
welcome
God.
back to the 12th Horseshoe podcast here on Search Sports TV. I am Jack Rizzo, joined alongside, as always, by my co host, Elijah Weintraub. Eli, it's been a long offseason, man. Well,
It's been a
the
long,
draft and
super
everything.
long off season. I am so glad it's over, and I'm so excited that the first regular week preseason game features my Seattle Seahawks the Seattle Seahawks tonight at 10 p.m. So East Coast time. So super excited. Lots to cover today, and just want to give our thoughts and prayers to Maui, all the people down there with the volcanoes. We want to obviously wish them our thoughts and prayers, and hope that all will hope in the best. And of course, and we apologize for the losses for all that have died through those horrible losses. But our thoughts and prayers as always.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. I mean, it's an island, so like they
Yeah,
have to they have to go by like boat to evacuate. And I think it's wildfires. I don't think there's any
it was
active
both.
volcanoes on the island.
Unless it was okay.
I don't
I got the
there's
story
no
wrong.
ac- I don't think there's any active volcanoes on Maui, but I mean it's a really sad situation there. Obviously prayers for them. It's really unfortunate. Wildfires are a growing trend. Hopefully we're able to prevent them more
Yeah,
often. Obviously we've had the ones in Canada, California every year. We had the ones in Australia a few years back. It's changing the world. It really is. But
yeah.
yeah,
So it's not a
prayers for those.
volcano; it was wildfire. My
Yeah,
apologies. I read the story wrong again.
prayers for those in Maui.
Yes.
So on today's show, we're just going to be basically talking about what to look forward to in the NFL preseason, along with some other news. There definitely is not as much to talk about as there was on our last show last week. Contract extensions have kind of slowed down. There's been some injuries, but we talked about a lot of them last week. A couple of things though that have happened. NFL Plus just launched for the 2023 season, and it now includes Red Zone and NFL Network. So obviously now they did up the price a little bit,
Yes,
but for Red Zone, where you get every touchdown from every game, 7 hours of commercial-free football. I feel like
that
I'm
is
endorsing
correct.
Red Zone, but I mean for the
Yeah.
extra price and to get NFL Network, which has all your coverage and everything, I think it's worth the uptick in the price. I don't have NFL Plus, but I have a Sunday ticket, so I
Yeah,
don't.
so basically to recap for everyone, the new price this year for NFL.com with NFL Network on NFL Plus is $6.99 a month. For NFL Plus Premium, which includes NFL Red Zone and films for coaches and all that, is going to be $14.99 a month or $100 a year. So that is a little bit upcharge. However, I do think it might be worth it because compared to the prices, if you don't have the money right now to pay for YouTube TV, that is definitely worth it, especially getting Red Zone and to cover all the Sunday games at least, because the rest of the weekdays you're going to get that on TV. So absolutely worth it if you do have the money to do it. So yeah,
I absolutely love Red Zone. Scott Hansen is such a great host for the show. There used to be another one on Direct TV, but that show was nothing compared to the one that Scott
correct.
Hansen hosts. And that other show is actually gone now. It's just the one with Scott Hansen now because Direct
Right.
TV have purchased like rights to have that show. So across a lot of different streaming services and networks, the NFL Red Zone is pretty much available to anyone now who wants to get it.
Yes.
A couple other quick hitters, a couple of recent news in the NFL. Former Raiders receiver Henry Ruggs sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison because of the car crash that he caused in 2021. Not really going to get too much into that. Just wanted to bring that up real quick. And unfortunately, former Colts running back Marlon Mack, of course, a player I loved watching with the Colts, tore his Achilles in camp the other day. That's the second time he's tore his Achilles. Fortunately, it was on the other leg. It wasn't on the same one. That would have been pretty brutal. But
Wow.
really sad story. I mean, I've always loved Mac. Great guy. Still only 27, so we can definitely come back and be better. But it's tough circumstances for him.
Oh wow. Well, obviously the prayers for hopefully a speedy recovery. Hope to see him back on the playing field very soon.
Yep. So before we get into some NFL news, Eli and I wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened outside of the NFL, but something that's still involved in the sporting world that has everybody talking. I talked about this a little bit on my show yesterday, but the whole situation with the Baltimore Orioles and Kevin Brown. Now, I know Eli really wants to talk about this. So, Eli, the floor is yours. What have you got to say about Kevin Brown?
Well, first off, for those who doesn't know about the situation, which if you haven't paid attention by now, shame on you. So basically, Kevin Brown is the play-by-play was the play-by-play announcer for the Baltimore Orioles. Basically, he did nothing wrong. He said absolutely everything correct. He didn't curse. He did everything he was supposed to do, write his notes, and told the truth. And he got suspended for it. It was on a graphic, as Michael K mentioned, from the Yes Network, and he basically said the truth. And basically, the owner of the Orioles, Pete Angelos, and basically suspended him from the press room and called that an unbelievable situation, which I absolutely disagree. He did absolutely nothing wrong. He did nothing but tell the truth. And the fact that it was on the notes and on the graphic is just utterly annoying that he's the one that's suspended. It should be the entire press room and the entire graphics department, everybody who's part of the press room for that situation if you're going to blame somebody like that. But you should be grateful and allowed to say something that bad or say something positive. I mean, really, there was nothing wrong with what he said. I watched it so many times, that clip over and over again, and I found nothing wrong with it. So the fact that he got suspended for it was utterly a disgrace, and I'm so upset about it. And it's a shame how good announcers like him got suspended for absolutely nothing wrong. So I am really just annoyed by the whole situation, and I am just upset about how everything played out, and a shame because if somebody else did that, it is completely normal. It should be normal. And the fact that you got suspended for it was absolutely wrong. And I love watching other analogies and other sports broadcasters rip him a new one. The Orioles owner, Peter Angelos. I'm super grateful that they had the opportunity to say something and do it. And also, I'm grateful that they got to also speak out and say their own stuff about their team they broadcast for and how they're still there. So it's a shame and really upsetting to see everything that happened. And I'm lost for words and just absolutely upset from what everything the Orioles have done. Kevin Brown did nothing wrong, and absolutely every fan should agree with Kevin Brown, and they do because they, after all, did say free Kevin Brown during that Orioles game, and since then they've been losing. So yeah,
I've probably listened to that clip at least 25 times.
yeah,
I have still not figured out what he did wrong.
no,
Announcers should be allowed to have their opinions, but here's the thing: that wasn't really even an opinion. That was just the truth. The Orioles have not been
exactly,
good. The Orioles have not been good at Tropicana Field, and he even
yeah.
mentioned that they were doing better this year. And like, you can't. You're not okay with any criticism of your team. It's the truth. I mean, it's your fault that the team's not playing well. But also, uh,
Compared to what other announcers said, that was nothing.
from other reports I've seen, their announcers are only allowed to wear Orioles branding while on network, and they also cannot mention past Orioles players that are not on the team anymore. It's
Wow,
just seems ridiculous what's going on there in Baltimore, and it stinks because they're a young team. They're a
they were
really
a
fun
very
team
good
to
team.
watch. I was down there. I was down at Camden Yards to watch them, and now I don't even want to root for them anymore because like it has nothing to do with their fans. Like they have, I love the Baltimore Orioles fan base,
They have
and
great fans and great players, but when it comes to management, it's horrible.
I yeah, so every single game since that news came out, there's been free Kevin Brown chants at the stadium. So the announcers for TBS acknowledged it during the game, and the Orioles
While
have
the
now
radio,
won.
while the
Yeah,
radio broadcast muted it.
The Orioles have not won since that happened. It just I don't now. Kevin Brown will be back in the booth tomorrow, fortunately, so he is coming back. But if I were him, after being treated like that, I don't know if
I
I'd
wouldn't
want.
come back.
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to come back.
Why would I
Oh,
come back?
wait.
Because knowing,
Hold up. Sorry, I lied. The Orioles actually did win today, 5-4 over Houston.
oh wow,
So they actually did win. But I mean, Kevin Brown's coming back tomorrow. Maybe we'll just all forget about this. But I mean, it's just still like a horrible move, and it should have never happened in the first place. Like,
absolutely agree, and I
really
cannot agree
crazy.
more with
Yeah,
this whole
it's
situation. And
pretty unfortunate. You know,
yeah,
they embarrass him, their fan base, and themselves most
pretty much.
importantly.
I mean, I wouldn't say fan base because they did nothing wrong. They shouted free Kevin Brown, so fans have nothing to do with it. Just the management for sure it has
Yeah,
to
but
do with
they're
it.
gonna at least take backlash for it on like social media. Like
Oh, absolutely,
they embarrass their fan base, which is
oh,
really
absolutely.
I love their fan base. They have really good fans, but
Oh, I
it's
agree.
pretty it's pretty unfortunate. Hey, speaking of suspensions, there's been a few suspensions in the NFL that have been handed out over the last week or so. So, Saints running back Alvin Kamara and Colts defensive back Chris Lamons were both suspended 3 games for the nightclub fight in Vegas last year. The investigation went on for a while. Believe there were no charges filed because of like a plea deal or something, but both players suspended for 3 games, and Seahawks receiver Dwayne Eskridge suspended for 6 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. I feel like there's been a lot of suspensions hit out this year. Most of them have been for gambling, a few for PEDs, but now some for personal conduct policy. So when you add it all together, those 3 players now have accumulated 12 games in suspensions, which is crazy because that's more than what Deshaun Watson got, and what he did was by far worse than what they did.
Absolutely. It is absolutely worse. And it's horrible to see players get suspended for something that, obviously it's, meaningful, but at times it's like really just interesting, like how everything all took place and happened. And what I could say is, because most of the suspensions that we read so far have related somewhat to gambling, I do think the NFL needs to somehow create a different policy and make sure the gambling situation is more clear so that players could understand something before they do it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying I'm with it and I'm not saying they should do it, but just to understand it, to make everything more easier. And we know it's going to be the gambling world is going to be just increasing more and more, especially with the announcement of ESPN Bet the other day. So they do need to like recreate their steps, make it public, and make sure the players understand what they're doing and what we should know about the future for betting and what they should not be doing. And obviously, that is just one key part of all the suspensions. Obviously, don't do anything bad, and they clearly crossed the line, and obviously they deserve those suspensions other than besides the gambling points.
Speaking of gambling, we talked about the new gambling in ESPN a little bit with Arda Ocal yesterday, the interview we did with him. If you guys missed it, you can check it out right here on Search Sports TV.
It's actually in the description below.
Yep,
I actually put in the description below.
Go check it out in the description below. After you watch the podcast, though, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, so it went really well. Obviously, once again, thank you to Arda for doing that.
It was really an honor.
Most of the NHL on ESPN and an anchor for SportsCenter. Talked to him a little bit about like the new gambling things going on at ESPN. Really good conversation there. But
gotta check it out.
Now let's talk about another something in the television world that's been going on with the NFL. Eli, I have not watched it yet, which I'm gonna do soon, but you have watched it. So can you offer up your opinions on Hard Knocks?
Well, the first thing I could say, it's a hard knock life for us. I gotta throw that out there.
Oh my god,
that was funny. Okay, got the laugh. I was like, oh, see, that's where they got the name from. Okay, okay. So yeah, I had the opportunity to watch Hard Knocks, the first episode. About it, all about. I think we lost it. That's awesome. That's good. Okay, so I had the opportunity yesterday to watch the first episode of Hard Knocks, which debuts on HBO and HBO Max. It was really funny and really good. And then when it be funny, there was a lot of funny moments, both with the New York Jets team as well as the narrator / producer of the show, which I thought was really funny, including a helicopter arrival of him, which I thought that was really funny as well. So yeah, I thought it was really funny, but very good because it gave you a little bit more of an inside scoop of what actually happened with this New York Jets team and what the future holds in store for them. I really enjoyed the documentary. I can't wait for the next episode. And some notes I want to take away from it. I'm going to start with Salah. He used excellent analogies and really amazing analogies, and I think that's one key tip for this team, as well as he quotes Aaron Rodgers is the best QB I've ever coached. So that's another statement he mentioned. And Garrett Wilson will be featured in a Dunkin' commercial, just for everybody to laugh at it, because he was shown catching a donut and drinking a nice coffee from Dunkin'. So he will be participating in a Dunkin' commercial that was actually happening at the training camp. So just to give everyone a heads up in case they're interested, oh, I know him. He was on a commercial. Well, yeah, it was also on Hard Knocks where they first announced it. So just to give you a heads up there. And one big takeaway, which I think I'm going to leave out there, they really went in depth with the Nathaniel Hackett, the whole Rodgers situation, leave my coach's name out of your mouth, all that situation. They really did a really good job being in depth with that. But one key tip and one key note that I will take away from this, Aaron Rodgers is known for his no-look passes. He's done that so many times during the training camp. The coaches love it. I don't. Why I don't like it? I feel like that's going to be a struggle with this New York Jets team. It's bad enough they couldn't catch the ball too many times last year with Wilson as their quarterback. Now you're adding Aaron Rodgers, who has extreme level of talent and is also known for its no-look passes. We're going to see a lot of drop plays and interceptions. That might be the biggest takeaway from this New York Jets team, other than everything else. Other than that, it's super exciting to see what this New York Jets team has in store. I know I ranted about them here and there on the show and at the camp, but I was really entertained in that documentary. And yeah, and it's a hard knock life.
Well, let's just hope it works out for Jets, because the last time in a last place AFC team brought in a Super Bowl winning quarterback and hired Nathaniel Hackett, it didn't really work out for them. Of course,
Yeah.
I think everyone knows who I'm talking about right now. You could find them in Denver, Colorado. They play a mile above sea level, and they had probably the most cringe-worthy quarterback in the NFL last year, and they were on primetime way too much. So the Jets do have quite a lot in common with the 2022 Denver Broncos. Let's just hope it works out a little better for them.
Yeah. And one thing that I am very happy with, not happy, but not about the Jets, but to relate to the Broncos. Apparently, Broncos head coach Sean Payne says he will play all the starters. Russell Wilson, the QB, will play, and the rest of the starters will play in the first preseason game. And they play the Cardinals, and that game is tomorrow at 10 p.m. on NFL Network, which, of course, they're still getting primetime action on television, folks, because why not? Still upset about that. But I'm glad that QB Russell Wilson will be playing. And you know why I'm saying that? Because usually it doesn't work out at the end. So hopefully it'll bring more bad luck. Obviously, we don't want him hurt because we obviously don't wish that upon anybody, and we don't want that to happen. But I think it's just going to be a costly decision and costly move by the Denver Broncos to play quarterback Russell Wilson, the rest of their starters for a preseason game. It's only week 1. We're not even week 2 or 3 of preseason. So I just want to throw that out there.
Well, the Broncos better hope they play well in that game, because Cardinals are probably the worst team in the NFL right now, looking at their roster. I saw one of their plays that they ran in training camp, and it was one of the most embarrassing plays I've ever seen before. And it was in training camp, and it's probably an indication of what's to come. I don't think the Cardinals win more than like 3 or 4 games. They're probably going to pick first. They're probably going to end up with Caleb Williams. Just does not seem well for the Cardinals in 2023. And it's crazy because just 2 years ago they started 7-0. They were the last remaining undefeated team in the 2021 season. How quickly the tides have turned over the last 2 years.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a lot at stake.
As a Seahawks fan, you're probably not too sad about that.
No, I'm happy.
Okay. Something
I thought the joke was the best though.
Something interesting that happened over this past week, a reunion. Jimmy Graham is back with the Saints. We kind of missed Jimmy Graham's prime. That's like one of my biggest slaps in the face as a football fan, because I've watched his highlights. Jimmy Graham absolutely dominated with the Saints. I know he played for the Seahawks too, and he was great there, but he was on a different level with the Saints. Had some of the greatest seasons ever for a tight end there. Just was so much bigger than everybody else. Just go up and get the football. He had the upright, the goalpost slam celebration. He had broke touchdown records. He was fantastic there. He's still been solid, but I'm happy to see him go back to the Saints. And I'm thinking that's probably where he's going to retire.
Probably. Yeah, not much more to add there. And yeah, he'll probably retire there, or he'll do a Tom Brady. We'll see.
He's not going to do Tom Brady. Jimmy Graham's a tight end, and we know Tom Brady's not very good at catching the football. We saw that in Super Bowl.
No, I'm saying like retire and then unretire, that type of situation. Not actually.
Well, he never unretired. He just has been bouncing around. But
okay, whatever.
I find it interesting that some players sign one-day contracts with certain teams to retire, like what Frank Gore did with the 49ers, signed a one-day contract to retire a 49er. Okay. So last episode, there was a ton of extensions to talk about. You had Justin Herbert, Trayvon Diggs, Andrew Thomas, the Saquon Barkley sign. There was a lot of extensions, but this week there's been only 2 extensions really to talk about. One of them is the cornerback, the linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals, Logan Wilson. this might be the most team-friendly contract I have seen this offseason. 4 years, $37.25 million for a vastly improving linebacker. And while you still have to pay your star quarterback, this is like such like a huge win for the Bengals and not overpaying. I mean, that's like just over 9 million for a very, very good linebacker. Today's day and age, that is a great deal that the Bengals got there. And they've just been one of the best run teams in the NFL for the last few years. You couldn't say that before because how cheap they were in free agency.
Absolutely, they were very cheap in free agency, and great decision for extending that contract. And not much more to add. It's gonna be a very interesting year for that team, and hopefully it pays out for them.
Also, another Saints player, Cam Jordan, got extended as well. He's been with the Saints for quite a long time. He's one of the best pass rushers of this decade, for sure. But
Absolutely, and he is continuing his long run career, and with the Saints,
2
and hopefully,
years.
yeah,
Oh,
2 years,
sorry. 2 years,
27.5 million.
27.5 million. Yep. He's
Yeah,
been
so
with the Saints
hopefully,
since 2011. Came out of Cal. I
so a
believe
huge
part
veteran,
of the
and I definitely he'll probably get his jersey retired.
part of the 2010s all-decade team. If it wasn't for, I mean, this generation's had so many good pass rushers: J.J. Watt, Von Miller, Khalil Mack, now T.J. Watt and Nick Bosa. There's Aaron Donald too. Like, there's so many good pass rushers in this decade that Cam Jordan's just kind of gotten overshadowed. But he has been so consistent with the Saints. Came a little bit late before he won a super. They won a Super Bowl just a few years before he got drafted. But it looks like he's going to be a Saint for life. So congrats to Cam Jordan, possibly a future Hall of Famer. The team accolades aren't really there, though. It's kind of on the fringe with him, but he is a Saint legend. He'll definitely have his number retired by the Saints.
Absolutely, and there's no question about it, especially of how long he's going to continue his contract extension.
All right, so the preseason's finally here. The Hall of Fame game happened last week. The Browns won 21-16. Not really much happened. I mean, Zach Wilson had one really good throw, and Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers was pretty fired up about that. But
and he was on the Hard Knocks, and I forgot to mention that he was a good, helpful coach during the game, and you could hear his entire speech during the Hard Knocks of what he's been saying to all the coaches and to the players. It was very fascinating and interesting what he had to say, and we'll see how well it plays out during the regular season when he starts. And one other thing to conclude for the Hall of Fame game, DeMarcus Ware, he sang the national anthem, which I thought that was pretty good
it
and
was
pretty cool for
interesting.
him.
It was pretty slow. It was pretty like it almost felt like a lullaby. But hey,
Uh,
soft spoken voice. I mean, it could have been worse. At least he didn't mess up the lyrics because a lot of singers
yeah,
happen to mess up
and
the
listen,
lyrics.
for coming out of football just to sing a national anthem, represents your country. Good for you, and great job. That's all I could say.
Yeah. All right. So now let's talk about what's happening this weekend, the NFL preseason. And there's lots to look forward to. Biggest storyline, probably the rookie quarterbacks. All the rookie quarterbacks are going to be making their debuts. Bryce Young for the Panthers. He's already been named their starter, so he's going to start week one unless he gets injured. CJ Stroud going to play tonight, or is playing right now with the Texans against the Patriots.
Yes,
And the
that right
Patriots
now
have
the score. Patriots are leading 3-0 with 6 minutes and 38 seconds to go in the first quarter. That game is happening right now.
CJ Stroud threw an interception. He's 2 for 4 for 13 and an interception.
Oh, wow. So that game is happening right now on NFL Network. And then coming up at 10 o'clock is the Seattle Seahawks. They're taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Although not a lot of the starters will be playing. They're home at Lumen Field, and football's back, and the Seahawks are playing. So what more could you ask for? And the Colts are playing to Saturday.
Yeah, not on TV, but we'll
Not
be
on
on TV the
TV.
last 2 weeks. All
And of
right, yeah,
course, as a reminder, if you are in your home team area and they're not on NFL Network, you will have local coverage of that team. For example, the New York Giants will be on NBC or CBS tomorrow for the game versus the Lions.
yep. So I mentioned Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, who's playing right now, threw an interception, but he's looked pretty solid in camp so far. Has had a really good connection with John Mechie, a receiver from Alabama who missed all of last year because he had cancer.
Yes.
Pretty sad story there, but I'm glad he's back. I hope he's better than ever. My guy Anthony Richardson got rocking his jersey now because he has been named the starter for the preseason game against the Bills. He's going to start.
Good for him.
Shane Steichen said that the starters are probably going to play a quarter, give or take. Some could be a little more, some could be a little less. I don't think we're going to see our linebacker Shaquille Leonard there because of the injuries. Jonathan Taylor's still not back. He's not going to play. We do have quite a few injuries to deal with, but I mean, I think we're going to be fine. Again, don't overreact to the preseason. That's like one of like the biggest things that an NFL fan should know. Do not
Do not
overreact
react.
to the preseason.
Preseason.
The Detroit Lions went 4-0 in the preseason in 2008, and then they went 0-16 in the regular season. So
Preseason says one thing, but wait till the regular season's a whole different ball game, and don't get too excited because your team did not win the Super Bowl. They may have won the preseason, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. So just keep in mind about that. And not a lot of your great starters will be playing those games. For example, we saw last week with the New York Jets, and proved exactly right. For now, we'll see how it goes later on in the future. And the full week schedule begins today and extending till 2 games on Sunday. So enjoy preseason.
we'll also see how Banana Boy, aka Will Levis, does this preseason. I'm not really
We
that
got
high on
jokes
him,
today.
but we'll see how. Well, yeah, he eats bananas with the peel on. We'll see how he we'll see how he does on over the preseason.
Well, this show has just become so crazy. It's not even funny.
I've heard some people saying he's looked good, but apparently Malik Willis is outperforming him so far. Not the guy I wanted the Colts taken. I'm very glad we did not take him. We have AR. We're all good. So one more thing before we finish it off. I forgot to mention Kareem Hunt, who's been kind of like moving around. He's been pretty quiet this whole offseason, but as of late, teams have started to show interest. He went down to work out for the Saints, left without a contract. The Colts called, told them they had a contract offer, worked out for the Colts. Apparently, it wasn't enough. Left there without a contract. We'll see where else he goes to visit. Maybe he goes back to Kansas City. Maybe Miami is interested. Maybe the Jets. So we'll have to see. But Kareem Hunt could definitely make an impact on a team. He's a good pass catcher, good pass blocker, and could come into the game on third down. He should not be the guy who carries the workload, but Kareem Hunt would not be a bad addition for any team, especially like a contending team who already has like a really good starting running back, and they could use some insurance with Kareem Hunt.
Absolutely, and great points mentioned there. I mean, I don't know how much more I could add. I mean, you covered everything well. Great job, Jack.
All right.
On your scouting reports.
So that's pretty much going to do it for today's episode. Again, kind of a shorter one today. Not really much to talk about, but wanted to get one out. Next Tuesday, we're going to do our episode next week will be next Tuesday because of some scheduling conflicts.
Yes.
And then after that, we'll continue to air my show, of course, next Wednesday, as always. Before we wrap up, though, we should do like one of these like random questions at the end of every show. But Eli, right now, who do you think is the most underrated player in the NFL?
Just underrated player. I'm gonna go with underrated. Let's go with
He's gonna pick a Seahawks player, guys.
Geno Smith.
You actually didn't. I thought you were gonna steal my pick. I don't agree with Geno. I think the most underrated player is Justin Tucker.
Good pick.
Best offensive player in the league. I mean, the
guy was a good pick, Jack. I don't know if we're trying to whisper or not, but
no, I'm just kidding. It's not Justin Tucker. You're gonna like this pick, Eli. Most underrated player in the league, Tyler Lockett. He does not get. Then why didn't you say it?
I don't know.
Does not get enough love.
When you start blanking on television,
I don't hear anybody talk about how good Tyler Lockett is.
Yeah,
he's been like a top 10 receiver in the league since like 2015. Now, not a top 10 receiver like by like stats each year, but in terms of like over like accumulated stats, I mean the guy's really good. Used to be a really good punt returner. I don't think he's doing that anymore because they want to kind of like protect him. But he's always in the end zone, always making big catches, has very secure hands. But yeah, Tyler Lockett, underrated player.
I agree.
No, I'm Justin Tucker. No, Justin Tucker might be the best player in the league though, because I mean the guy never misses. But
yeah, but
all right, so
hopefully it's true. And you can catch Jack, of course, on his show, the Horseshoe Show, on every Wednesday, and we'll be back on Tuesday for our show, 12th Orchard Podcast. And you can catch me guest starring on Sports Mano on Saturday at 10 a.m. So thank you all again for watching. We appreciate every view, and we appreciate everything that you guys have done so far. And we thank you for watching, and don't forget to watch our podcast yesterday with Arda Ocal from SportsCenter and the NHL and ESPN. Until Tuesday, Jack Rose, I'm Elijah Weintraub, signing off.
Go Colts.
Go see